everyone. This is Apple Treats, our final episode of the first season of the podcast. And we have a great guest today, and we have a hot, interesting topic to discuss. Hi, Marcin.
Hi, hello. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming, and we will go to the topic a little bit later. We need to probably have some intro for you, for all those who don't know. Well, probably not many people, but still, like we definitely have to go there.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for that. But this is always the hardest part. Whenever I submit the talk or something, for the presentation, they ask for the bio. And I don't know what to say, because what can you say?
We know that you can say a lot, actually. I mean, like, we definitely saw your site, and there are a lot of projects which people use, and we saw your GitHub, and
people just know your projects, and they don't know who you are.
That might be, yeah. Let's start with that. How you get into iOS development, and probably not just the iOS, you Apple development, development for Apple platforms. What's your path?
Actually, for real, that was the iOS. I've got the MacBook just before the iPhone came out, and I hooked up. I basically for some time, some period of time, I get my 2 laptops in my backpack every day when I go to work, because my work was very related to Windows environment, and I used a proper Dell laptop. And then I got this MacBook, and I got both. And I remember I had I got some back pain, problems because of that, because it was definitely too
4+ kilograms of laptops.
Yeah, all of that was too heavy. But yeah, I got this. I got MacBook, and then iPhone came out, and I'm a programmer by heart. So if I get a new toy, I start to play with it. Before what it was the iOS, I started with some Mac development, but it was so hard for me. I didn't understand a thing. The first thing I've built was a dashboard, the widgets. It's no longer with us. It was for 2 releases. This is a mixture of HTML and some native programming, maybe. But that was the first. And then iOS came out. I was still working on a Microsoft environment, like the business stuff. But on the side, I started to build some apps that I liked. And eventually, I switched my job from this enterprise solutions to building an apps, and then I started to build Mac apps, and now I'm totally hooked up with macOS development. Although in between there was always Linux. I also released some apps on Linux, on GNOME, So I kind of feel that macOS was closer to my heart than Windows back then. Yeah, so that's how it started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's probably iPhones really changed something. I mean, in terms of people getting into Apple development, for at least for a couple of my friends also got into Apple stuff from the iPhone. We're probably too young to be starting with Apple II or Apple III or first Macs, but iPhones really changed the environment here. I mean, it was quickly became cool to be, and there were a couple of guys who were doing the development before the official SDK, and started with some hacks and with the jailbreaks and the developments with something unofficial. That was fun time.
Yeah, I remember that. I was waiting for the official, because I didn't get the first iPhone. I didn't have one. My first iPhone was iPhone 3G. And so the first one was not even available in Poland. I think it was not in official distribution, but somebody from around me, they had it. I played with it, but yeah, really, there was like 7 apps in total. I was like, what? At that time, I already played with Java ME, which was the Java for, I don't know, ME stand for, but it was like for small devices like Siemens, like smartphones back then. And I knew that there's a world, there's more to that. Once we can build an application that will unveil its power, and eventually it did. So it was awesome when they did announce that there's a SDK and everyone is welcome to build on apps. But basically at that point I dropped my Java knowledge. This is where I stopped. I don't know when it was, but yeah, it was my Java knowledge as a language and environment is very outdated because of Apple.
Yeah. And by the way, for all those who are watching us live, you can type your questions into comments right now, and we will ask those and we will discuss them. So this is like festive episode. Let's call it that way. We will probably try to do some New Year resolutions here, and we'll
really?
have
We're doing this New Year resolutions. Okay.
Well, let's try that at least. Okay,
we they were like,
yeah. But yeah, some people already have those, and they are joining us live in order to see some of their resolutions. But probably we will put that a little bit for the later. Sure. We need to keep intrigue here. Something like it should be like suspense should grow during the episode.
How do you like my setup? I can talk to you from my left side. I even have a right side, but it's turned off at the moment because the technology. It doesn't work. All right.
Okay. By the way, it's not like a question that we agreed to ask, but since we discussed that Apple released their iOS SDK back in 2008.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I believe. Yeah, like what do you think about how Apple treats developers? Because developers brings their value. So what do you think about this?
I think it changed over the time. So in the beginning, the developers were, the App Store was small, and every app had already a huge chance to become a big one, successful. Yeah. Over the time, of course, that changed. So in the beginning, the indie developers, which were the majority of the App Store vendors, were this essence of App Store, I would say, right? Over the time, that changed. Back then, I think we were more, we felt better with the treatment of Apple, although, it may be subjective, I don't know. I felt at least better. It was a smaller community, everything was about the developers. I felt that. Today it's different. Today it's all about big studios that ship the apps, and if you're an indie, your success is probably unlikely to happen. Although it may. I don't know.
It's all about buying advertisement and all this stuff.
If you're indie, you don't have money to spend on the App Store advertisement. Basically, now it's impossible to compete with the Crash Royale or these big games that always, whenever you come, what's new, what's hot, there's always this game. It's just not gonna happen for the indie development. It may, but it will be just an exception that will. There's a saying that exception confirm the rule.
Okay.
It's definitely different now. It's more towards it's just a big business. It wasn't it used to be like small business, but now it's a big business with the big partners. If you small fish, you just don't have any power. If you're big enough, like Amazon, Microsoft, the bigger one, you can be a partner to Apple, but not if you're just a single indie programmer, I would say. At least I don't feel that way.
Yeah. Okay, I know you as the author of Crypto Swift, because every time when I need to encrypt something, I found Crypto Swift.
Yeah, because the name is so good, isn't it? The name is so good. You think, I need to encrypt something. That will be Crypto Swift, because what not?
Yeah. You look like how to encrypt, I don't know, something. Google.
Yeah.
Okay, Crypto Swift.
Crypto Swift goes. Yeah.
Pod install, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another one. Crypto Swift Crypto, which is awful name. You never remember what is the order. The Crypto Swift is the best name. That is like a driver of the traffic from Google or something. I don't know. Well, it is for some time on the market. I would say, I'm saying market, but it's not really a source of income of mine, or it's just a side project I maintain for a couple of years already. It becomes quite popular over the time. I didn't spend any money to make it popular. I don't. This is not a source of income at all. People just, I don't know why they like it. Maybe it is just, because it's easy to Google, or they find the API appealing or something. I don't know. Well, it started as experiment, and it's still experiment. The best way to learn something is to do something, and I did it a couple of times already, and this is one of it. I started implementing digests, the hash functions, and then I went further with the implementation and playing with that, and playing with the Swift performance. That was the bottleneck at some point, but I think currently maybe on par with the C implementation, so it's quite fast, as is some of the functions implemented in Crypto Swift. But the idea is to implement some of the cryptographic primitives in Swift, and whether it is possible, how it can be. The problem when I started was that on Apple platform we had Common Crypto, which is the Apple library. And
C library, we have to say.
Yeah, the C library. It was not even available as a module for Swift, so it was quite hard to use. So the Crypto Swift was like an obvious choice if you don't want to fight with the system, because you have just to download or include the source, and it just built. Over the time, the Common Crypto got the module, but its Common Crypto API is dated and not really easy to use. Well, it's C API still, just wrapped in Swift. So yeah, I think that was the time when I got most of the users. But even today, there's still people that use that. I don't have the statistics. I just randomly learn sometimes that somebody used that. Today we of course the landscape is different. So there's Crypto Swift, and there's Swift Crypto. Swift Crypto. Yeah. So the Swift Crypto is open source version of CryptoKit. The CryptoKit is on Apple platform, and Swift Crypto is open source version of that on Linux. And it's very interesting library. I'm not a fan of this API. It's just from this, like, it's my personal probably just my personal opinion. I'm not fond in this generic based API that some may find hard to use, but that's not the biggest problem. Like, it's not the problem, I'd say, but the goal of CryptoKit is that they push only modern cryptographic primitives. That means some of the older one are basically not available.
Or they put this into insecure.
Yeah. They put some of this in insecure, but at the beginning, the first version even didn't have the
MD5 and SHA1.
Yeah. They added some because, well, the backlash was, okay, we can't use that. Well, we can if we build a new system, but the old systems are not necessarily up to date with everything that is modern. And the reality is that app developer has no power to change what is implemented on the backend, and application most of the time talk to the backend, and the backend gives the specification, and the application developer only have to follow that. So the developer have to find the library that match that needs, and CryptoKit was not always still does not always meet the criteria. So this is one of the issue with this adopting this new library. But yeah, there's a Crypto Swift, which is about to get the RSA as well, which is old and shouldn't be used these days.
You also have some other projects. Maybe you. I know that some people who are just on the stream are sitting and waiting until we get to the main part of our talk.
We skip that. We're gonna skip that today. Yeah, we just, I don't know. We're gonna talk about whatever the weather.
So I saw some of the Objective-C code there as well. I mean, like, so. Can you name any of your other projects which you probably like creating, like something which you, I don't know, like you consider as your masterpieces, or at least you're proud of?
Well, maybe not the masterpiece, left and right, but there is a project I maintain for a long time as well, Objective PGP. This is very, very niche project, but this is the only project that actually was source of income, like not a huge number, but the biggest income source from my open source work. And the reason is because this library is dual license, so it's free for non-commercial use and paid for commercial use. And if the company needs the PGP solution in any way, they can just use this app, pay a fee, and we good, right? So there's some dollars over each year. I sell a few licenses, and this is great. So it's called Objective PGP. It's implementation of Open PGP protocol. They want to encrypt the email messages or signatures or the files that is mostly commonly used, and it's implemented in Objective-C with the API of Swift, so it can run on very old machines, very old devices, and the modern ones. And it's awesome. Like, really, I just recently I extended that with some extensions. It was weird though. I didn't use Objective-C on a daily basis for some time. So, but it still reminds me that there is world. So I jumped there and recall all the old stuff. So this is very interesting project, as I must say. It's not very popular, but it's like this one I keep on and maintain and don't want to shut down, and people use it, and yeah, it's I learn a lot as well.
Cool.
And what are the other projects I have? I'm trying to avoid the elephant in the room, but I open my website. I work on Judo. You know that Judo.app.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is my source of income actually now, and it's awesome project. You should check out if I have the list.
Yeah, we will put that to the show notes for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it led me a lot. So we shipped the application in Swift UI, mainly in Swift UI. That was interesting and challenging task. I'm very happy about it. I learned a lot, and I used this knowledge to work on my other projects, like the Swift Studio. And it's awesome. Like I have a mixed opinion about Swift UI itself, especially on Mac. But overall, there's a lot to love about it.
So how many NSVU representables do you have in that project?
Yeah,
from Mac?
Yeah, I do have. I do have a lot. But what I noticed, I tend to use like a simple view I implemented in Swift UI rather than in Xib or Storyboard.
Right.
It's just faster for me for some reason, and it's this is a simple view, there's like a one state, two states maybe, and it just works. When it works, of course, because if it doesn't work, you have to re-implement the whole thing, which is scary. One thing that is not good in Swift UI on Mac is table view. So I don't use the list, the Swift UI list. I use the NS table view just with the bindings to state, so outer state, that's managed by Swift UI. Because NS table view, there's nothing close to NS table view in Swift UI. And NS table view has multiple columns, which is the concept that does not exist in Swift UI, at least yet. The drag and drop, it became a bit better now. When I wanted to use that a year ago, it was not working. I mean, it worked to some extent, but it's very limited. The gestures and like cursor support, like small things that are just missing, the Swift UI does not implement. And if that thing is missing, you have to re-implement the control by yourself. And it's annoying, of course, but it's changing over time. So maybe that'll be better, maybe not. I don't know. I kind of like it, but I'm not relying on that. I wouldn't build a whole app. And we didn't do that with the Judo as well, entirely in Swift UI, because I don't think it's possible now. Like it's possible for simple app, but not for full featured app. But yeah, there are good things in Swift UI that we definitely should use in any app. And I'm talking about the state management, which is awesome.
So the whole approach of like state-based UI, it's something like we need to go there. That's for sure. Yeah.
I use like a concept of store, publishers, observable. It works. It works very well. I love it. It simplified my code base that I rewrote from the old approach to the new approach over the time. It simplified so many things. I can focus on the components more than on the architecture. I would say, which is
right. Okay.
25 minutes.
Yeah,
it's time.
We have to. And before, just a second.
How much time do we have?
we'll see how many. Yeah.
Okay.
It depends on
25 minutes. Okay, we have the 5 minutes. Okay, now.
Yeah. Yeah, but before we will like basically unveil something or like start, we have a question from the audience, and the question is, what do you think of the state of the Xcode right now? Like, what's your opinion here?
Hi, what's up? A friend from the Twitter. Yeah. So the Xcode, I have a mixed relationship with the Xcode. We are kind of forced to use this tool because this is the tool that comes with the SDK, and for a long time there was no option to do anything else. Well, there's the JetBrains. How's it called? Appcode. Yeah.
Appcode. Yeah.
It's powerful. It's really awesome. Like the JetBrains is famous of its capabilities of refactoring, right, and stuff. Although, yeah, the current version at least is still Java, and it feels out of place on the Mac. Really is. They just announced the new version, the rewrite of the tools. Appcode is not on the list of the first wave, but they will probably follow. It looks awesome. So yeah, the Xcode, well, it's getting worse in my opinion. Basically getting worse. Like what happened with the Xcode 13? It's a disaster. I don't know, the previous version, what was the Xcode 12? I don't remember, but it's from version to version, it's getting worse. And I'm not talking about some like instruments, because yeah, the instruments kind of work sometimes, but I'm talking about this basic use. Yeah, whether it crash, whether it open the project properly or not. Yeah, the auto completion itself, and the debugger. Debugger is non-functional today, in my opinion. Like the Swift one, it just doesn't work.
Have you tried it with structured concurrency?
Oh yeah, that's especially bad. Yeah, especially bad with that one. So I don't know. The editor, they did some refinements, but I kind of feel like they lack of vision how it should be. Like they put everything, whatever they had the idea or something, they put there, and this state of tabs. To version of tabs that nobody really understand what's going on, whether you have these tabs in tab or you have a window tab.
Yeah, two lines of tabs. That's a bit.
Why? It's unnecessary, and and the SPM kind of the Swift Packet Manager. This is pictured as a future of app distribution, probably. But at least the component distribution, the support in Xcode is just got worse, even worse since the Xcode 12. So I don't like it. You cannot add new package with the Xcode 13 because this don't work, right? I mean, sometimes it works. You know this issue when
you need to force close, start again.
Yeah, you don't know what to do, right? Like you open this dialog, you put the URL, and it doesn't work. And it doesn't work. You don't know what to do. Then you open the newly downloaded project, and it starts to resolve the dependencies. And yeah, they will report errors. But there are no errors. All you have to do is close and reopen the Xcode, which is ridiculous. Like this is on this level. I'm talking on this level of useless. Other than that, the Xcode is quite powerful overall. It's it's on the market for several years. It got better over the time, I would say. Still, but yeah, maybe just not recently. They need to stop. They need to fix stuff instead of implementing a new one and then maybe release something better. There's in my opinion, there is a Swift implementation that's going on, and there's a debugger implementation, and they just release whatever there is a schedule to release the new version of Xcode, but those tools are not ready to ship. The debugger, why the debugger is broken in async await in concurrency, probably because it's not tested enough. It's quite new. It's there's not enough dog fooding. People just haven't had chance to use that a lot, so they won't keep up with fixing the bugs. But yeah, it's just not ready. Just wait, fix it. Work with Swift new features and ship the debugger that can actually work. So I'm frustrated.
Would it help if they make more frequent releases of Xcode, like what they do with the Swift, actually?
Yeah.
So not usually Swift is tied to release of a new OS. They just drop the new version, and that's it. Would this help?
It could. I don't know if it's still possible with this caching of the SDK and all these libraries in a system, though. So they kind of need update. Sometimes they need to update the system for the new version of Swift as well, right? That was the case with this async await, although they managed to backport it later on. And it's still, I'm not an expert in that. But yeah, definitely, the frequent updates would help, but they only update Xcode once a year. Well, not well. This
major, they have like minor updates, but those are like that usually are not big enough to fundamentally change something.
They fundamentally change just once a year. They change UI. But probably they should polish all this stuff before releasing new UI. Just test it on us. We are ready. Just do this, guys, please.
Yeah, we don't know the internals. Maybe the UI is just easier to pull off, and the internals are, this is the more work that is less visible, and I don't know.
They were able to redo the iWork, like the pages, numbers, keynote, like almost from scratch. So they took the iOS part and rebuilt the Mac version from that. So I think, if something like pushes them, they could do that. So and by the way, the keynote on the Mac now is way better than it was before this, like the whole redo thing. And so I think it's possible, but it probably just different teams.
Definitely possible. This is the biggest tech company in the world. They probably can afford the resources to build a team that works on something for 2 years or 3 years, whatever it needs on site. And then maybe they do that. We don't know. Maybe this is what they're doing, and ship something better. And maybe the Xcode is only in the maintenance currently, so they don't really innovate. Although they do kind of. They still change.
It took 4 years for them to release the Swift from the first commit till WWDC 14. Yeah, probably. Okay. Yeah. 4.
The Swift was a huge project.
Yeah,
like that's not something you can ship in 1 year. So it had to take some time in development.
Okay, I have to stop the discussions and let's talk about Swift Studio. I mean, that's we have to should we show it? I mean, are we ready now? Can we?
Are we ready?
What do you think?
Yeah.
And by the way, those who are listening to us, probably this is the time you need to look into show description, find the link to the video, and okay. So we are looking to.
You look at the development version of Swift Studio that I have on my machine, and it is basically on some branch that I'm working on. And yeah, so it's real, you know. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. It's real, and this is how it looks. The Swift Studio is a project that I started 2 years ago, and then I abandoned for some time, and eventually I restarted it some few months ago. In this project, well, the goal is to build some alternative IDE for Swift on macOS.
Okay. Just before we go into details, any like any stories behind the name? Like, was it something again to get the proper name for the IDE?
Swift?
Yeah.
This is I don't think there's a story behind the name. This is just a great name, Swift Studio, isn't it? Like, who don't want to have this studio? Well, the studio is not uncommon to have something studio.
Yeah.
And the Swift Studio is like, this is how the Xcode should be named currently, because the Xcode is mostly about Swift today. Well, the Swift Studio is because this is all about Swift. So it's built in Swift. It's based on Swift Packet Manager, and it's built around the Swift technology that is available today to unveil and make it simple. And yeah, it's kind of as you can see, yeah, you see the so it's very similar to what the Xcode is. So it looks very similar, right? And there's a reason for that. So the reason is because the Apple developers are familiar with the Xcode, but the Xcode may be harsh when you want to build something on the server side or something that is on the platform that is not blessed by Apple. Then you need to reach to third-party solutions, and that solution will be Swift Studio. So the switch will be easy. Everything is familiar, like the concept of status bar, right? The button, it looks and feels the same.
Yeah.
It's just yeah. So it looks and it feels the same, although with a bit better without the Xcode package. So what we see here is the Vapor project. I agree. This is a sample Vapor project. With the dependencies, you can see there's the Vapor website, and I'm going to run it, and I see what's going on. So we're on a Mac, and this is the running target. And there are tool chains that are available on the machine. This is the Xcode toolchain because I have Xcode installed. But there's also Ubuntu, which is Linux toolchain, which I can select and build.
Will it install Ubuntu?
Well, it actually integrates with Docker.
Oh, okay.
But only to run the compiled version of the application. So now it compiled it on this machine, on my Mac 1. It stopped because I don't know what happened. Let's try again. Maybe I break something over there. Yeah, so I broke it.
We definitely see it work in progress.
Yeah, but I have when it's demo, it was working just a second ago.
Yeah, and by the way, that's another point that's we probably might consider this is not a staged video, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna run it again and see what's going on in my log. So I open. I will switch to this.
And in the meantime, like guys watching us, shoot your questions. You see the studio. It's it's something which runs. It's like it has similarities with Xcode, and you might have some questions. And while we are doing that, so the main purpose of the studio is to support developers on projects for the platforms which are not properly supported by Xcode, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that should launch or not? Okay, now it will. So it works, right? So I just run the application, the Vapor application in a Docker container because I have a Docker installed on my machine. And you can see this is the Docker Docker client. This is the container that runs this application. And if I stop, it will stop the container, and yeah, the application doesn't work. I change that and run. So the thing is that I don't need the Linux running to build the application. It all happens on the Mac because I do the cross compilation, and I just run the resulting code in the container. I can run it in any container. I provide the SDK and provide the runtime necessary to run any application that is built in Swift Studio in any Linux. Well, not any. Well, specifically Ubuntu, this Ubuntu. But like your image may be random, like maybe different, as long as it is Ubuntu 2004. And yeah, this is the Ubuntu. The running on macOS is just selecting the different target, build that, and that will be all. I think it would build and see that it's running, compiling. There's a progress, of course. Yeah, it's running. Yeah, and now this is macOS version. As simple as that. And this is the goal of this project, to make it as simple as possible, basically. To
Nice.
the newly, there is like when you may create a new project. That there will be Vapor will be like this web framework. This template for that and all that stuff, that you're ready to build your first application in a seconds, and that's the goal. Of course, there is Swift support, but there's also JavaScript support, and currently those two. So if you open the JavaScript file, it will be normal with the Node.js that is embedded in the Swift UI, or can be used external one, but like it's integrated environment that allows you to just easily work with the server. After that, it's not implemented now, but there will be basically deploy to the cloud service. Because I have binary, I control the environment, I can deploy my binary to any cloud provider. So my plan is to have pre-configured, some ready, transport layers for selected cloud providers, whether it will be AWS or something else, when you can just deploy and run the application without need to do that manually and fight with that. So I find it useful.
It's Speaking of AWS, they recently released their SDK, like Swift, like full-featured SDK, and it seems that one of the ideas might be to use their SDK Swift Studio to do lambdas. Like you can do Lambda on the Swift. Will the Swift Studio be like a good solution for that?
Yeah, definitely. It's on the list. Another thing on the list is I just don't have SDK ready for that, like a tool chain, but the WebAssembly. So you can select here the Linux, you will be able to select WebAssembly and build the application against the WebAssembly and open that in the browser. But that's not there yet.
But this is all about web. What about command line utils? Can I build something like this? Because I spent a lot of time recently building command line utils for
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So using the Xcode, but the problem is SDK that comes with the Xcode. I don't have this SDK. I cannot distribute that SDK. I'm talking about the macOS SDK and the frameworks. So for that, you have to have Xcode installed, and then just create the package and run it just like that, and that's all. Like this is basically what you can do with the Xcode these days as well, right? Yeah. That's not magic. The difference is that this works fully with the SPM, the open source version of the SPM, not with the Xcode build system. So maybe limited in some ways, but it may be also wide opening on the other ways. If you'd like to build command line tools for Linux, this is a great tool. This is the great tool because you just running on Linux. You make sure that it will compile on a Linux, and you will get the binary that you can just copy paste to wherever you want without needing to care about providing the proper Docker container, all that stuff. At least this is the goal, and this is achievable. That the tool, the command line tool, can be just built easily. Yeah.
Looking into that, I have a question, which is like more on the technology part. So we see the source code editor, and what did you use to build Swift Studio? Like, do you use Swift LSP, or like how it works?
So there is a Swift LSP, SourceKit LSP project by Apple, and I forked that for my internal use. But it has some additional features that are not available in the open. I needed for my stuff. I've made LSP client, which is the client of the LSP that I use. So I implemented that one, and one talked to another. So the LSP kind of works, and it's awesome. Then we have SPM. I use SPM as a library, so I have full control over what is possible, what are the options, and I also do some customization for the SPM as well. That lets me, like the support, for example, support for these errors here. I needed some customization, so I've made some customization that helps me to work with the error handling from the Swift compiler, but even more than that, like the paths, where it is built, what is like this cross compilation stuff. I made it easy, so I also have some fork of that, and the editor is this thing here. This is interesting because this is the latest version. The previous version, I may have actually. Maybe I can show you because I started to implement GitHub.com. It's private, so I started to implement text layout engine by myself because I wasn't happy with the NS text view and TextKit 1.
Okay.
However, I spent so much time. I spent like half a year, just implementing this. Oh yeah, it's here. Just implementing the layout. It was built on the NS view. I want to find it. So this is the text storage, but it's my text storage. With some text attributes that I had to NS text attribute re-implement. The idea was to not use NS text storage, basically, but use any data structure that can be behind it. And I thought about using ropes, which is this fancy data structure to handle big files and update the big files anywhere in an efficient way. But I had to reinvent everything. Oh no, I'm trying to find, maybe the layout manager is the one. Yeah, so there's a lot of calculation of the position of this is the layout text. When I use the core text basically to put everything, all the letters in the view, then the view itself couldn't be NS text view because I think this is the view. Yeah, this is not the NS text view. It's just NS view. And I implement this text protocol that gives the integration with the system. But as you can see, there's a lot of implementation that has to go with that.
That's definitely a source for a lot of conference talks here.
I was crazy when I tried to implement JSON serialization by myself, but now I think.
Yeah, so eventually, when I was doing that, and it works, although it's missing some optimization, and the missing optimization is lazy layout. And I like struggle with that a bit. Didn't know what to do, and then the dab happened, and the Apple announced TextKit 2. It was basically one-to-one. What I implemented here, they did in TextKit 2. So even some of the model, it's not here, but like the model structures are similar. I had and are in the TextKit 2. So I said, okay, fuck it. I'm not gonna spend more time on fighting with that. I'm gonna use the TextKit 2. So what I did here, this is the experimental TextKit 2, only TextKit 2 view, coding view that works. And your TextKit 2 had some gotchas here and there, like something that doesn't work, and I decided to use NS text view. It has two modes. It can work in a TextKit 1 and TextKit 2 mode, and I'm doing everything to not switch to TextKit 1 mode. So I'm doing everything with TextKit 2, and something doesn't work, or didn't work in the first release. But yeah, it's way easier to actually to use than before. So yeah, and funny thing, because I implemented this layout by myself, text layout by myself, I understand way more with the TextKit 2 and why and how they did that under the need, and why they choose that, not the other abstraction, because I've been there. I get what's going on.
And
but yeah.
Yeah, speaking of other, like the text kit is, and yeah, the layout and everything, and that's something which is like, again, a lot of stuff to take care of. Speaking of other technology, so I assume you use Swift for the Swift Studio, maybe like Swift UI?
Yeah. So like here, this is Swift UI. This tabs here. There's a problem, but the tabs are Swift UI. This is UI kit. This is Swift UI based. This view here is Swift UI fully. There's a terminal by, actually this is the component by Miguel de Icaza. I did some contribution to that as well, so I was familiar enough to integrate that.
And that's a great feature, by the way.
Yeah. This is something that Xcode is missing, and yeah, definitely. This Swift term. This is the project I highly recommend. It's very good. It's easy to integrate, but it's very good in terms of as a terminal client. So the compliance with the different modes of terminal. Yeah, the Swift term is very good. Really, if anyone needs a terminal, I highly recommend to go and check out this one. Yeah, this is mixed actually. This is Swift UI and AppKit, but the core is Swift UI. So the architecture is Swift UI. I use Store with some observable that I subscribe to and update the view based on that. So there's a central place where the state is updated and propagate throughout the application, which is, yeah, the Combine and Swift UI made it quite easy to work with.
By the way, do you plan to use Swift Studio to build Swift Studio?
It's not possible now. Basically not possible for the one reason. This reason is I do not have app signature. Like I do not sign the application, which can be done with the Xcode only, like this sign tools that comes with the Xcode. I mean, I'm not precise. It can be done without Xcode, but I'm not at the stage when I want to implement that.
Right.
May happen, but not
okay. What will happen if you press, I believe, Alt, the Option right click on, I don't know, on package, for example?
There's nothing happens here, I think.
Okay, so what about documentation? So
yeah, well, I just skipped the documentation. Like even here, you don't see there's no documentation here. Although this information is available, I just didn't put it in the view yet. It's just lower priority. It's something easy to add. I don't have it now, but the documentation for the function is here. Like it's easy to add. It's not here, but it's easy to add. But yeah, you're talking about .c and stuff.
Yeah.
So that came out just recently, and I don't yet know how to integrate that. I didn't do my job and check how to do. I had another option. There's a project that offers the documentation, the Swift documentation, in an org format. I don't know if you're familiar with that. There's an org format that has a lot of references between. It's very useful. I could use that. I thought about using that one. It was before the .c was released. Now I will probably, I will look at the .c and integrate that. Although I don't see, well, it is. I see a value in here to have some documentation here, but I don't see a value to implement the document browser by myself. What I do, I use Dash. Like
Oh, yeah.
me, I use Dash, and this is working solution for a lot of people. So I may just use an external tool for browsing the documentation of the SDK itself, because I'm not necessarily want to deal with all the aspects of parsing.
I wish we had proper integration between Xcode and Dash. We had it before Xcode 8 when we had opportunity to integrate custom plugins. Thanks, Apple.
Yeah,
and by the way,
plugins is the interesting stuff, because this definitely happens. It's not here now, but that is something that will be huge. So not as Xcode, there will be plugins in one on the other form, but the plugins, definitely will be available in Swift Studio, because I'm missing plugins a lot, really.
And having plugins is actually like the way of resolving this particular issue with the documentation and maybe some other missing pieces. That's that might be a great idea to have.
Yeah, definitely. So the thing, once I finished whatever I have on my plate now, I will also add the Pilot by GitHub. This feature.
Oh yeah.
which is very easy to add in Swift Studio and impossible to add in Xcode today. So that kind of cool features as well will land. Maybe not in alpha, but yeah. So my plan is to release alpha in January, I guess.
So we now have some important information here, like the plan for the first something which we potentially can like touch with our own hands, right?
Yeah. The plan is to have alpha in January, and the working flow will be build a web application and run it, build and play with it. So kind of work with something real world, but it will be still limited. Intentionally, I'm not gonna do another 2 years waiting until everything is done. But now I will release something. Yeah, I don't care. This is my pet project at this stage. It will incrementally get better, and at some point it will be thread to other tools. Definitely not the alpha version. Definitely not the alpha. The alpha will be limited and full of bugs, but it's a marathon for me.
I think that this might trigger some more attention to the Vapor, to like server-side Swift. I mean, like having a good environment to do that helps. I mean, like if you do something like that in Xcode, you have like you need to read the manual on how to do that. Like you have to like go through steps in order to like make that happen, and that's probably not the best experience here.
Yeah, that's the main idea. I was frustrated when I worked with the Swift on server back in days. All the integration, all the setup was cumbersome, and what I was struggling most was, even though I could build on Xcode, it was still on a Mac OS. And this code does not translate to what goes in Linux. And the Linux is the platform when you're going to deploy that. And so that was my frustration. And I want to solve that in a way that will be transparent, but also accurate. So if you're still in your familiar environment, that is close to your heart, you know what to do, where to find all the tools, and at the same time you have correct error messaging of the destination platform, in this case Linux. So you do not afraid that you use something that is macOS specific, but you just use build the application that's ready to deploy on the server at any time. And I hope to solve that pain point easily.
Okay. By the way, I see on your screen Visual Studio Code.
No, wow, yeah. It's not a... Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Last week we got an official Swift extension for Visual Studio Code. So do you
I have it
think
installed.
about it? As well as I. So do you think it's a threat for Swift Studio?
Yeah, definitely. It's awesome. This is awesome project. A very interesting approach to the problem, and opener for the Swift on server for many people. First of all, it's multi-platform, so people can use that not only on macOS. Then it's built on a great foundation that is Visual Code. So the things that I decided to implement by myself here comes out of the box, and there's the extension that is just installed and do the job. Yeah, it's awesome. It's different though, I believe. I think I'm closer to the bare metal and have more possibilities than this extension can ever achieve. The extension like this is limited by the Xcode by itself and the release cycle of the Xcode and Swift Packet Manager in the state Apple decide to deploy, to ship, and so on and so forth. But I don't have that limitations. I can work with the open source Swift on my own and bend it to my needs. So I think I still have some room to improvements. Yeah, there's multiple. There are multiple tools that some people use for a long time. Use that kind of solution with the Emacs, with the VIM, the plugins that utilize language server protocol, basically, because that's the kind. This is the kind of extension. Are here for some time. This is one that is kind of blessed and it's quite good actually. So yeah, this is a new player on the market. I believe the Swift Studio still can offer better experience, multi-platform, like the cross-platform building experience than VS Code can. But yeah, VS Code has this remote containers that also works, but it's different in many ways as well.
I believe that this release of Swift extension will push. Okay, it should push Xcode team rather than you.
Yeah, I don't know how much it was triggered by Apple itself or not. Yeah, I don't know. Well, this is
Apple. And they work on different stuff, as you told us in the beginning.
Yeah.
And
the Xcode basically should have all of that already, like 2 years ago. But we had to wait for the Microsoft to do Visual Studio Code and somebody to do the extension to actually do that. So,
right.
yeah.
I have a question. Like, you have quite unique experience developing IDE, and like not many of us can say like, yeah, I've built an IDE for Swift. Like, and therefore, did your attitude towards like Xcode team change, like one way or another? Like, is it possible to build a sophisticated tool like an IDE is, and like not having it crashed or freezed or like something?
I don't know, to be honest. Can we build any application without crashes?
Oh yeah.
Probably not. But the Xcode has some history. Like if we talk about Xcode itself, has some history, and new features are built on top of that, and it feels like it needs re-engineering, internal re-engineering to shift some gears to the new word, new approach, instead of building on top of the old foundation that is dated. And this may be the source of multiple crashes here and there, as we like. It looks like it's still built just on top of some internals that are constant, that cannot be changed. Can it be? Well, I don't. Well, the Xcode is still more powerful now, so maybe when I reach the Xcode, completeness, I will crash as often as Xcode does. So, who knows? So far, it's not that bad, but it's easy to crash in application.
And like as a continuation for that question, do you want to have an honest chat with the Xcode team, or maybe you already had some discussions? Like you probably, like if you had, you probably won't answer. We kind of understand that, but
no. Well, that would be what would be the point of that discussion as well? No, I didn't. I didn't. No, I don't see much point of that. Well, if they're not interested in collaboration, I'm not interested as well. If they would, yeah, I'm open to work with anyone who is open to work to build better tools. But yeah, it's not. It didn't happen.
Yeah, and I just realized that since the Swift Studio is based on LSP, do you think that might be possible to integrate other LSP languages into Swift Studio?
Yeah,
you mentioned the JavaScript, yeah, but any other?
Yeah. So the JavaScript will be the one, and the smaller ones, like there's even LSP for Dockerfile and stuff like that. So whichever will be possible, I will try to integrate. Not all of them, but only the essentials that I find useful. And then there will be extension that will open for third-party integrations for LSP that may be not that tight, but still possible to integrate the other LSPs. Just as this is in the Visual Studio Code, I would say.
Sounds awesome.
And any other, and the Sublime and Emacs and Vim, and what else? Well, TextMate, Nova. There's a lot of that kind of. The good thing is I really follow what's going on with LSP. I try to use what I need, and even used some extensions that are not yet in the official specification, but will happen. So what I wanted to say is, LSP is important, but sometimes you have to go outside the LSP as well. And this is why I fork some of the projects to get some extensions that work for me, and just for this project. And this gives me a freedom. I do not depend on whatever Apple or any other vendor will deploy. At this point, I feel confident in developing new features in LSP on the side, or in SPM on the side. I'm familiar with the code base, so I can move quickly and without waiting for third-party vendors for that, as long as it is open source, of course.
Okay, so now I'm finishing my the next year budget plan. So I need to know what is the expected pricing model? How much money should I save for this now?
The price of Swift Studio?
Yep.
Pricing model for Swift
model.
Studio.
Okay, model. So today is free, and it's gonna be free for quite some time. I don't have a plan to monetize it yet, and at the same time, I don't have a plans to make it open source. There will be components that will be open source, but not all. Or if that will ever go open source, it will be dual license. Basically, I am not a fan of Apache or the MIT licensing model. So the app will be free for a long time. If there will be some paid tier, it will be for something, some special integration like deployment to the cloud services, stuff like that. That is premium to the basic functionality. Maybe some custom integration that may be valuable for developers, so they may be willing to pay some small fee to use that. That is, the solutions that are not easily available outside, or just convenient.
That's a little bit unexpected, actually. I mean, like for the tool, I know we as a developers, we typically like free tools. Like it's a common thing for us. But that's not nice to hear. And hopefully you will have the internal drive to keep on working on that. Like even being the free tool.
Yeah, so for now, it's my pet project. And maybe in the past I had different vision. But as of today, it's my pet project. It's not gonna be my source of income. I'm also seeing some opportunities in customization. So this solution as an IDE may be useful for other products that may need that kind of IDE, so I may work on the customization for their needs, like licensing the whole solution, like a white label solution. There is market for that as well. So I don't know, we're gonna see. It's hard to tell to developers. I believe some premium may work, some premium features. But not today. No, it's free now. It's just not open source.
But still, you can support Marcin on GitHub.
Yeah, you can support me on GitHub.
That's and we also put that to the show description as well. So
appreciate that.
We are this is the last episode for our season 1 of the podcast, and it's New Year in 3 days. So I think we need to ask you one last question, which is not probably on the Swift Studio. Like, what are your New Year resolutions? Maybe related to Apple releasing something or fixing every bug in Xcode.
Oh yeah. Well, my this year resolution was to go into Rust programming, and it didn't happen. So maybe the next year will be the year with the Rust development. So I need to learn. I want to learn Rust, basically. This is from the programming perspective. I also want to ship the Swift Studio, and this is the biggest New Year's resolution this year. It's been more than 2 years now. It was on and off. This is the second version of the application, and I kind of feel I have to ship something just for my own sanity. I enjoy working on it, but
it's the second version. But to be honest, for us it will be first.
Yeah, for you it will be first. Yeah, I also have another application that is not released, but it's like a spin-off, which is the Docker Container Manager UI. So I hope to ship that as well, and I also, that's not a resolution, but it's wishful thinking. Apple will ship the affordable monitor that I can buy.
Oh,
yes, please, Apple.
Yes, that is something that's in my list. That will be on top of even the new MacBook Pro with M1 Max. That one is also on my list, but the monitor is definitely something I would like to have just right away. Yeah,
I'm looking forward.
So you saved us a little bit of money for
free, right? Yeah, and
What are your resolutions, guys?
Okay, I actually I have two things I want to try. I mean, I recently bought a book on RAM 64-bit assembler, and
Okay.
I need to understand that. I mean, like that's something I try to, and now I probably need to I have a book already, so it's not I just need to read it now. So it's already first step done, but that's something to do in early next year. And I actually tried to start with Vapor and server-side Swift, but I did Hello World, it worked, and that was it. So now having the AWS SDK and probably having the Swift Studio now, and I will try by the way to compare with the Visual Studio Code as well. But yeah, having the native app is my preference actually. I mean,
good to hear.
Visual Studio Code is great app, but it's still browser running web application. I already have Teams on my machine, and that's too much for me already.
Right.
And Safari. So two browsers already.
Yeah. So I have a browser. Yeah, I don't need another one packed as a IDE, and therefore I will probably wait for the Swift Studio. And I want to try something real here. I mean, I will need to find something which is suitable with either commercial projects we're doing or do some pet projects here. And my idea here is probably go with AWS services and combine them everything together, and maybe Lambda, maybe I don't know, published container or something, but something which will do not the Hello World example, but something real, which is suitable and done everything on Swift. That's end-to-end Swift project. I don't know, but
this is the best way to learn something new. Just you have a problem and you just trying to resolve it, and that's really cool.
So I agree.
Okay. I'm already in Rust. I love Rust. This is so. When I write in Rust, it's just really after Swift and all these issues, and example buggy async await now, how it works in Rust, it works awesome for me. So what I promised to myself that I should start open sourcing the stuff that I'm building for myself. I do a lot of command line utilities for myself. My favorite one, which I'm trying to push it publicly right now, is, do you remember the extension for Git called Hub? When you can just write Hub PR or Git PR and just open pull request directly to that. So I have the same extension for Bitbucket and for GitLab.
Nice.
Because my two previous projects at work, they used Bitbucket and GitLab. So I want to release it to deploy my version of Hub extension for this. So I can use just one tool for all three platforms.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and by releasing something always with open source, I will push myself to support this, because I believe 6 months I didn't touch my Git LUD tool at all. Now, if I'm pushing it, I should do something with it.
Yeah, good luck with that. Sounds awesome.
Thanks.
Okay. I think we need to wrap up our episode. And by the way, for those who are listening us, and for you, Marcin, we typically try to do it half an hour, 45 minutes, and we usually not able to. And today we also wasn't able, but I think we had seen and heard a lot great news on the Swift Studio, and we will definitely wait January for the alpha release, and we will definitely try that. So, January is quite soon.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for having me, and I wish you and all the listeners a happy new year, best year. Ship everything, be the best version of you, and be kind to each other.
Thank you, Marcin. And yeah, happy New Year to everybody. And let's hope the next year will be better. And as regards to the podcast, we will come back probably late January, and we might already try Swift Studio by that time, and we might report on that in our first episode of the second season. And if you're listening to us and haven't yet put a review or rating, just do that. That's probably a good time. You already listened to the end of this episode. That's you definitely could do that right now, and that will help us with the new year as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
See you.
See you. Bye.